Football is the most famous game in the world. Millions and millions of people follow this game. With so many people following specific teams, there is also great pressure and responsibility on the team players. This is why this fame is called the game of emotion. Players got emotion many times. These are the list of top 10 most emotional moments in football history. Number 3 is really heartbreaking moment for not only the team player, but also for their supporters. So, stay tuned and keep watching. At number 10, Ghana lost to Uruguay in the 2010 World Cup. After all, other African nations were eliminated, and the whole African continent pinned its hopes on Ghana reaching the World Cup semi-finals in 2010. The Black Stars of Ghana scored first, but it was equalized, forcing the game to penalties. The ambition of seeing the first African team in the semi-finals was dashed when Uruguay scored 4-2 during the penalty shootout. It was made much more tragic by the fact that the 2010 World Cup was staged in South Africa. Ghana's loss in the quarter-final of the World Cup is one of the most emotional moments in football history. Come down to number 9, we have the emotional moment of Andrea Pirlo at the Euros final 2012. Pirlo was noted for his spectacular performances in the 2012 iteration of the tournament, receiving 3 Man of the Match honors during Italy's journey to the final. In the tournament's semi-final, he even single-handedly demolished England. Without any doubt, Pirlo was the best midfielder of his time, and nobody came close to stealing the title. Unfortunately, his skill failed to aid his country's cause in the final, where he had a chance to add another prize to his trophy case, as they were defeated 4-0 by the Spanish side. Pirlo cried loudly into his hands at the end of the show because it was too emotional for him. Some of his followers are still disturbed by the vision. Andrea Pirlo crying at the Euros 2012 final will always be one of the sad emotional moments in football. Come down to number 8, when Paul Gascoigne's face burst at the 1990 FIFA World Cup semis. This actually gets a lot of England fans weeping. Gascoigne, being the standout star for the Three Lions at the tournament. After putting himself about in the match that was to earn England a place in the final of the tournament, he got himself booked in a robust challenge on Thomas Berthold of West Germany during added time. The yellow, which means Gaza, as Gascoigne was popularly called, would not feature in the final, even if the Three Lions managed to get there. Putting all of one's hopes and effort into something, only to be denied the chance of entering the promised land is truly a hurting phenomenon. No wonder the situation got Gascoigne feeling very sad and totally lost. The image of Gaza's lip quivering uncontrollably as he shed tears of disappointment for his country was very emotional for years after the incident. At number 7 is the best emotional football moment. We have the final of the World Cup in 2014. The World Cup final is a very emotional event. Because the entire world is watching, the stakes are great. The 11 players have the aspirations of an entire nation on their shoulders. After fighting hard against Germany in the 2014 World Cup, Argentinian players couldn't hold back their emotions. Argentina's World Cup hopes were dashed when Germany's Mario Götze scored in the 113th minute. Argentina was coming to terms with the setback, while Germany's side was sobbing tears of joy. Joy and agony were really tangible after the final whistle. It was one of the most emotional moments in football history. Come down to number 6, we have Mohamed Salah's injury at the Champions League's final 2018. Mohamed Salah's hopes of winning a 6th European Cup were crushed 30 minutes into the 2018 Champions League final when he slipped and seriously injured his shoulder. Salah was the favorite of the crowd. Liverpool had little chance of winning once he was hurt. The heartbroken Salah wept his tears as he exited the ground, knowing he had let his team and fans down. But it wasn't his fault really. It was more of a fault of Madrid's captain Ramos, who didn't even get a yellow card. Liverpool was defeated 3-1, and Salah was forced to miss the first match of the 2018 World Cup in Russia due to injury. Salah crying in the Champions League final is also one of the most emotional moments in football history. Pele is one of the best players football ever produced. His records were amazing, and most of them are unbroken. But he also faced emotional moments at the 1958 FIFA World Cup final. At number 5, we have the final of 1958 World Cup. Pele's genius started in the final of the 1958 FIFA World Cup, when he was just 17 years old. At the final against the host nation, Sweden, Pele dazzled everyone present with his skills and talents and stormed the football world by ending the match with 2 fantastic goals. That helped his nation to triumph and go home with the coveted trophy, quickly making him a national hero in return. After the match, His teammates hoisted him shoulder high, parading him around the stadium as if he was the trophy himself. The iconic moment came when the youngster couldn't contain his happiness anymore and burst into tears of joy, bathing himself in a pool of happy tears aloft on the shoulders of his teammates as they celebrated. At number 4, we have Ronaldo's emotional moment. Given the number of tears he has shed on the field, Cristiano Ronaldo is an extremely emotional football player. Along with winning trophies, dribbling, scoring, and smiling for the cameras, he's also adept at crying on both happy and sad occasions. When Manchester United lost the 2005 FA Cup final, he sobbed excessively. He cried joyous tears after United won the UEFA Champions League in 2008 after overcoming Premier League rivals Chelsea in a penalty shootout, and he cried again when he won the Ballon d'Or in 2013. When he was barely 19 years old, he had one of his most famous teary moments. He'd recently finished second in the 2004 European Championships, losing to Greece. Even the greatest football players can't hold back their tears. It was one of the most emotional moments in football. Come down to number 3, we have all-time most saddest and most emotional moment in the 2014 World Cup. For the host nation, missing out on winning the World Cup is always a disappointment. Brazil produced one of the most emotional moments in football history in the 2014 World Cup. Brazil's massive mistake was made all the more painful by the fact that they were eliminated from the semi-finals after a crushing 7-1 loss to Germany. This was really a very shameful defeat of Brazil in their entire history. It was a smack in the face for the entire group, which was already under a lot of strain going into the competition. That year, home fans anticipated the hosts to win their 6th World Cup. In the semi-finals, though, Germany thoroughly demolished every single Brazilian player. It was undoubtedly the lowest point in Brazilian football history, and it will be remembered for a long time. After the game, the players were in tears, with stars like David Luiz expressing public apologies. Even the Brazilian supporters in the crowd were shedding tears at the humiliation of their nation. Brazil's loss to Germany in the 2014 World Cup is one of the emotional football moments that will also make you cry. At number 2, Brazilian center-back David Luiz crying after his nation was embarrassed at the 2014 FIFA World Cup tournament enters our list as one of the top emotional moments witnessed in the football world within the past few years. In fact, not many would have forgotten this recent account. As the host nation, expectations were high in Brazil when the prestigious world tournament kicked off. By scaling through the group stage and progressing into the semi-finals convincingly, the anticipations rose higher from the home fans. The turning point, however, came up when the Selecao faced Germany at the semi-final stage and suffered one of the worst embarrassments ever recorded in the sport. They were defeated 7-1 on their own soil, the biggest defeat the country has suffered in the history of the competition. David Luiz, one of the poorest performers on the pitch that day, couldn't control his emotions and eventually give in to tears. It was a fantastic opportunity missed to claim glory on home soil. Nevertheless, the Selecao still managed to claim the 3rd place in the competition. What could be more painful than losing a loved one? Dani Jarque, the captain of Espanyol and a longtime friend of André Iniesta, died in 2007 after suffering hard arrest during a pre-season training session. This was excruciatingly painful, and it had a big impact on Iniesta's performance throughout the season. At the number 1 position, we have really an emotional moment of Iniesta scoring a goal tributing to Dani Jarque by revealing his t-shirt. 3 years later, in the 2010 FIFA World Cup final, the Spaniard scored the game-winning goal in a 1-0 victory over the Netherlands, giving Spain its first ever World Cup triumph. During the raucous celebration, Iniesta took off his jersey to reveal a message for his buddy Dani Jarque, which read, "Dani Jarque, sempre con nosotros," which translates to Dani Jarque, always with us. Iniesta's dedication to his buddy landed him a contract, but it couldn't have come at a better time. The referee, though, was unmoved by Iniesta's gesture and problematically penalized him, not that anyone cared, anyway. Andrés Iniesta's winning goal in the 2010 World Cup is one of the most emotional moments in football history. So, that's the list of our top most emotional moments in football history. What's your most favorite moment? Comment down below and let me know.